just got out the rain in time. So technically today is a failed filming session. I was meant to fetch a friend who lives right here, and she overslept. Couldn't get into the house, couldn't get her to wake up with phone calls or anything, but she happens to live right by the sea. So I went through with my camera. The moon was still out, the sun was rising, Table Mountain was in view. But with the storms, with the high tide that came in yesterday, with a whole bunch of factors, a whole bunch of stuff washed up on sea, it was intense. It was sad, it was interesting, it was creepy. And though I cannot say that I obviously cannot say that I'm happy that stuff was there, I am happy I was around to document it. I stood in one spot for about maybe 35 minutes just so that I could get one shot. Don't even know if it came out nicely, but it's been an interesting morning. Now that I'm here, ran out of the rain, I realize how cold it actually has been. I'm freezing, my hands are stiff, I can't move them properly, but the photography distracted me from all of that. I'm glad that though today was a failed video day, it turned out to be, I think, a spectacular photo day. And the photos that I'm going to show you, the photos that have been showing up on the screen while I'm talking, I want you to know that I do respect that these are very sad scenarios that we're shooting here. That it's pollution, it's litter, it's plastic, it's waste, and it's all there mixed in with all the dead of the sea. But like I said, I'm glad I was here to document it. It was a lot, kind of a mashup of photography excitement mixed in with an almost overwhelming sense of guilt and topped off with a dose of cold. Like, this day really had me on a creative and confused emotional high. I hadn't noticed the scene initially as I was taking landscape photos from the other side of the shrubs, but when I peeked over to check on the tide, that's when I saw the mess. And it wasn't until I walked past this creepy and simply gorgeous scene here with this red teddy that I was suddenly tuned in to the photographic potential of this wash up. It was teddies and toys and more toys and shoes and so many shoes. Where was this stuff coming from? My mind naturally just went off onto all these worst case scenarios and how these items that belonged to people ended up on the ocean, in the ocean, and then back into these shores. I mean, did they even come from Cape Town waters? But I would be lying if I were to say that this was a bad, sad day. The photographer that is me will immediately jump and say that this was a great day for my photography. But at the exact same time, I'm very uncomfortable at the idea of this being that kind of experience for me. I mean, this is a crime scene, really. It's litter upon litter, plastic upon plastic, and waste and clothing. And there was no way a group of locals would be able to, or would have been able to come out with, black bags or anything to pick this up. It was just too much. The idea was unimaginable to me. This would have required trucks upon trucks to clean this up. And as far as I know, this was washed up back to sea by the next morning. I'm not one to preach and speak out to strangers about these things. I try surround myself with people that I'd like to believe are doing what is within their reasonable capabilities to, not do too much harm to the environment. I am definitely one to be more of the opinion that if I'm gonna blame anyone, it would be, massive corporations and industries that contribute to an overwhelming amount of our problems. But the stuff that I saw out there on this particular morning, it was clothing, it was jackets, shoes, toys, stuff that individuals like you and me are responsible for. So don't get me wrong, there were ropes and nets and stuff that are most likely associated with the shipping and fishing industry. But overwhelmingly on this particular morning, my eyes were seeing stuff that were irresponsibly discarded. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to do something about it. I'm not going to sit here lecturing you on how the ocean is fucked. I don't have any interest in telling people what to do. That's on you. It's your responsibility to do your research or, wake up. But I will say that my mind shift has broadened a little, and I now lay blame on us to a much larger degree than I originally did. I never have felt that we are blameless. I have always been cautious of how I weigh blame, but this was ridiculous. What the hell are we doing? And that was quite the tangent. I'd like to end off with a question to you folks regarding photography and the ethics of enjoyment. I mean, this was not a good thing, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And This wasn't me taking the photos with a journalistic intention. I thought that the red teddy was creepy. I love creepy, and that's the spin I was taking with a lot of the photos that I was, taking. My intentions were artistic in nature. Is that exploitative? And if it is, are there degrees to exploitation that are acceptable if respect and understanding is shared and vocalized? If the photos are shared with a parallel intention of creating some form of awareness, is it still art? Is it now, or is it, photojournalism, or is it a form of protest art? I'm saying this, I'm remembering that we covered protest art in school. So maybe it's that, I don't know. I thought that might be an interesting conversation to have. So feel free to hit me up in the comments. I think that's the question or message I wanted to share with you today, like ethics and photography. That and our earth is fucked. We have to do better.